Hello from London, everyone.
Hello from London.
Ed and I are here doing a bit of research, and I'm going back to Toronto in 2 days. So we just thought we'd get together and answer the questions.
Okay, let's answer the questions.
So, the first question is from Sonia Harrison.
Shauna.
It's my mistake. What did you expect to achieve, and what did you actually achieve? Go ahead. I'll cut you off.
Okay.
I'll cut you off.
I have some vague ideas in mind. No real expectations, because I always feel I don't want to be disappointed. So I go there with an open mind, realizing as well that China's labor is cheap, materials cheap, so I can actually buy a lot of stuff and test things out without feeling guilty or feeling that I've wasted a lot of money. Albeit, the trip was very expensive, but I had some funding from the government, and I was also there to put up an installation, an exhibition, so that already for me was quite a big event.
And as for me, I went there hoping to do a performance, and Yang Yang had arranged me to meet a performance artist, and we got together, and it worked very well. I was very happy with the performance, and we ended up pulling it off in about 20 days to an audience of 300 people. Better than I expected.
So in terms of what I did achieve, because I was able to buy a whole bunch of ropes and stuff, which was something I already started working on for the show at the Chinese Arts Center, I was going to make an animation, step by step, tying ropes together to create the shadow play of ropes. But as I was making the work, I realized I was actually inside the piece, so I decided to experiment, and I made a piece called Shadow Play, which I really like, and it's the starting point for me now to explore other possibilities using rope, lights, screen, and shadows.
Okay, I think we should move on to the next question, Ed. We've got lots of questions.
Okay, so we're going to go to
Andy's question.
No, Andy's are next. Oh, I should just do Andy's. Andy, PhD is bad.
Too intellectual, man. You're in your head. Here we go.
Okay. I'm interested in the etymology of residencies and the idea of inhabiting a studio as blurring boundaries between art and life. Bracket, if such a distinction can even exist, in the bracket. This is especially true of a residency program such as Chinese Art Center's Breathe, for example, which you both took part in, where the sometimes open studio spaces forms part of the living space, while Breathe is an extreme example of this. It is, I think, also true of other residency programs where one is usually taken away from home and into the public realm. End of bracket. How is the domestic and the professional brought together in residency spaces, and how does that inflect work produced, or bracket, for the life you live there? End of bracket, question mark. I have to read that several times, I think.
No, the bottom part is the domestic and the professional brought together in a residency. I think in terms of the domestic life, you're bringing people into your space in a residency, in fact that you want to invite people you don't know to come to you, and by the same token go to other people to meet them.
Yes, for us, residencies is crucial because it takes us away from our normal way of working, our living, and our art making. We're confronted by things that are completely new and unexpected. We become, in a way, childlike because we need the resources and knowledge and experience of other people around us to help us get through certain situations. In that way, it's good for me, for us, because it takes you to another place. Just because you're not in your normal everyday mode where everything is in a way controllable and predictable. So residencies for us, when that situation arises, it's really about sharing, exchange, and to be open to possibilities. So for what you just stated about residencies of blurring the boundary between living and life, that's very true, because literally when we're making art and when we're living, we need other people to help us. And we look forward to it,
yeah.
because that's why we're there. We're looking for different ideas, different experiences, just very unpredictable situations where we have to always constantly kind of confront and negotiate and deal with it.
And that goes for like really simple and silly things like buying shampoo. It doesn't matter whether it's Manchester or Chongqing. You still have to ask someone what the local brands are, what's the best thing, and you engage people in a conversation. Different habits, different ways of washing dishes, different ways of hanging clothes, all part of your domestic environment.
Okay. If you have any questions, just raise your hand.
I see no questions. Let's proceed.
Number 3, your partnership is of course implicated in the domestic aspects of residency. As a couple, how does the sharing of space work? And do you think intimacy affects the work and the spaces you inhabit together? How, for example, does your intimate residency of space change an open studio situation? It's from Andrew again. Hard. You're not prying. No.
We've been doing these residencies for quite a while, since 1996. Our first one was in Paris, and again...
No, Taiwan.
You're right. And that one was really an intimate situation, a 6 by 6 foot living space. But how does it... We have been able to communicate and talk ideas. We go to look at art galleries and museums together. We have, I don't know if we've grown similar, but we have quite similar ways of looking at art and things like that, so we can talk about each other's work.
Yes, but also we can work in the same space, be it large or small, and be completely focused on our own work. We would take breaks together and then discuss work if we wanted to, but I feel because we do know each other very well, that we're also able to just not focus on each other, to almost forget each other, and then go back and kind of discuss and have coffee breaks, have supper, lunch.
Yeah. Okay, next question?
Sure.
Okay. Your partnership is, of course...
No, that's right.
That's one we've done. Sorry.
Another question from Andy. Another etymological definition of residency is that it comes from the Latin residere, as residere, as in to remain. The ideal of residency is for an artist to produce work on site within an institution. But apart from the work produced, I'm interested in the other traces of your residency which may remain with an institution. What do you leave behind, or in other words, what does the institution gain, or how is it changed? And what do you take away from it? What remains with you? Very good question. Again, it's very tough.
It's really hard to judge by what you leave behind. It's hopefully like contacts, people you want to communicate with and invite over to Canada, some kind of exchange. That you open other people's point of view just the same way that they open your point of view, that there actually becomes some kind of exchange. Otherwise it would be pointless to go to another place.
Well, also what resides, as in the Latin term, to remain, is the sense of a memory of that experiences you had. And I really always have felt that if you go there with a positive attitude and you kind of just deal with the positive aspects, but you also have to be really assertive to kind of get things done. What you create is a positive experience for yourself and for the people who are hosting you. So for us, we are constantly negotiating. Obviously, sometimes it's very frustrating. In China, especially with the language difficulties and also with maybe cultural dissimilarities, there's an ongoing sense of guessing, second guessing, and waiting, not knowing. But at the end, I feel it was worth it, just because we were, as I said before, put out of our normal situation. We had to kind of negotiate and confront. And as I've mentioned earlier, I go to a place without any kinds of expectation, or not too much, just because I don't want to be disappointed. But at the end, I think I've always walked away from residencies or experiences feeling enriched and positive.
Okay. When you're on from your
from Jessica. lawnmower.
Okay, go ahead.
Francesca. Oh. 1 year on from your residency, do you feel or experience in Chongqing? Do you feel your experience in Chongqing has affected the work you have done since? And if not, is it likely to be in the future?
For me, the performance that I did in Chongqing was really amazing, and the experience of doing it. No, the experience.
I know you
yeah.
said the performance.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, the performance was amazing, but yeah, no, the experience of doing it was really, and also the way that my collaborator worked was also different than I expected, and he had sort of in some ways almost too casual approach to the way of making art. It sort of made me respect his attitude and be more open to the whole performative approach. Made me feel like a real tight ass, and I have to let go sometimes. Yep.
Just in terms of experience, I would say it added to the sense that one has to be generous, one has to be curious, and one has to be, I guess, courageous and brave enough to go through such a thing. Not all residencies are the same. I can tell you, on the second day of my stay, I wanted to leave just because the two chimney stacks continually bellowing out God knows what kind of smoke made me sick, and also the way I looked at kitchens and the way people treated food or the kinds of foods that are served. It's completely not appetizing. But at the end, I was interested in coming through with something, and I think for Johannes, because he can't speak Chinese and he had to constantly negotiate with Ren Chen, the artist, and to organize materials, equipment, the site. It was a tremendously learning experience, and it's I would say a character building event as well, because he had to be completely patient.
Oh yeah.
I would say tolerant and generous, and things eventually happen. You know, they always happen at the last hours, but things did happen.
Yeah.
And for me, as I've stated before, I have this, this work that I'm starting to build on, which lights shadows and movements and actually a live performance, because I was in a way performing live behind the screen, and I videotape myself. So I'm very excited about the trajectory that my work is taking me.